Welcome to the Illegal Immigration Topics Show. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to the show. It is a very much, it is very much needed, a very much needed topic or topics relating to illegal immigration. Unfortunately, there are so many games that are being played within the system of supremacy that is brilliant, that is the most awesome mental manipulation force that has ever existed. See, the thing about it is that when you present reality, there are people that have an agenda or agendas to try to deflect the reality of what's being presented. They can't defeat what you are saying, so they have to do some sidetrack little woodpecker switch arounds, right? Word switchery tactics, right? And unfortunately, too many personnel get caught up in the argumentative, non-constructive behavior of those type of fairy tale type of rhetoric that they do. Myself, I won't even waste even half a breath of even doing that. So let's go ahead and just get into some things I want to go ahead and show on that. And again, I hope this will be a interesting show. Wait now. Wait now. You really didn't see what you really didn't see what you thought you saw, right? You really didn't see what you thought you saw. This is the power of supremacy, the most masterful mental manipulation force that's ever existed. You really didn't see what you thought you saw. But let's play that again. Let's see here for a second. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. So you're not really seeing this van driving high speed, going through this traffic. Uh-oh, look at that. The van's on this side. Uh-oh, see a little head popping out. Border breaking, illegal immigration personnel popping out. Gonna run like some rats. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Uh-oh, I'm losing count. 9 on the right side. 10, 11, 12, 13. Wow. 14, 15. Okay. Now I'm losing count. I'm not going to keep counting that. You see, you really now see, no, what, my goodness. You know, it's like one of those things you see, those circus things that they get out the little cars. You see all the little clowns getting out the cars. You see how ridiculous that was, right? You see how ridiculous that was. But again, 11 million, right? It's only 11 million. Let me get the word right? Undocumented personnel within the country. Let me say it again, but it's only 11 million undocumented personnel within the country. Shh, giggle, giggle, giggle. Because that's what they do. Because they know the system knows, right? And you got border breaking, illegal immigration entities, personnel, organizations who know they are, that get among each other and they sit there and giggle. They giggle 24/7. They sit there giggling because they're like, this is so ridiculous how easy it is to to fool quadruple amount of millions of people within that society, within that American society. We're very few percentage exceptions, right? So we just keep talking about 11 million, right? I'm gonna show you something a little bit. 11 million, type of 11 million undocumented personnel within America. Giggle, giggle. 11 million border breaking illegal immigration personnel within America. And they're sitting around just laughing, waiting to sit there and get, some time frame for them to someone to say, whoop, the pin signs, and all of a sudden, bam, supposed 11 million border breaking illegal immigration personnel, right? Then all of a sudden now have legal status, or better yet, wanting citizenship. But they say, hey, man, just give us legal status. And then we'll continue to keep playing games as we've done, as if people that came before us a generation or two ago and before that, but especially within the last generation or so, and I'm going to get to that in a second, are playing the same dastardly demonic game again that was played in 1986, 1982, and 1986. But let me read you something from what is called a book called Propaganda. It's going to read you just a little bit in a book called Propaganda. It talks about how it's under chapter 1, Organizing Chaos. Chapter 1, Organizing Chaos, from a book called Propaganda. I'm just going to read just a few sentences. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. Let me repeat this from a book called Propaganda. This book was written in the 1920s. This book was written in the 1920s. So almost 100 years ago, almost 4 generations ago, from a book called Propaganda. Chapter 1, Organizing Chaos. A few sentences. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. 4 generations ago, almost 100 years ago, this book was written. And look how powerful that is. But when you put reality information out, this is what numbers of people will try to do.
Sorry, Kevin Bacon wasn't in Footloose.
What? Of course he was.
No, he wasn't. You lose.
Of course he was. He was the star.
Nope, you're wrong. Look it up.
I don't have to look it up. It's common knowledge. He was on the cover of People magazine when the movie. Everyone knows Kevin Bacon was the star of Footloose. It was a huge movie. He was the lead. No.
Right? It's funny, but it's not funny, right? Now, it's not about the characters that they're talking about. It is the symbolism, right? The guy is trying to talk to this donkey or mule about, hey, man, such and such person was in this movie, et cetera, et cetera. Again, the movie's not the point, it's the symbology. And I'm relaying this to illegal border breaking, illegal immigration personnel are supposed to be 11 million. That outrageous, blatant white lie, right? Even when the guy in the video is saying, look it up, the donkey or mule is saying, nope. You see the largeness, but this is exactly what numbers of multi-millions of for border breaking illegal immigration personnel. This is the kind of personnel that have these organizations and entities that want nothing but extreme, open, non-controlled, non-secured southern borders and other borders. They don't want that at all. And then what do they sit there and do when they sit there and tell this outright disgusting lie? How do they come across when they do that? When they get around each other and say they still believe it's still 11 million. This is what they do. I'm not sitting there cracking up and laughing. They're cracking up and laughing. Because watch this. Yes, it's not just coming soon. It's now, but it's coming soon with maximum dastardliness, right? And border breaking illegal immigration personnel by the multi-millions are sitting back laughing because they know they're sitting there getting free legal resources. The numbers of them who are getting free legal resources. They know that, hey man, they've been told, hey man, just get to El Norte or whatever other borders, but specifically, hey, let's get to that El Norte, right? Now remember, you got 4 states, right? That makes up the southern borders. Texas, New Mexico, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and California, right? Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and California, right? Now I may get those backwards in between Arizona and New Mexico. It's not the darn point, right? So it's still 4 states, right? Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and California, making up the southern borders, the southern tip, basically, right, of the North American continent, right? Relating to the United States, part of it. And it's around about 2,000 miles. About 2,000 miles. You got the Rio Grande going through the different areas as well. And every day you got people going right across that Rio Grande every day, right? And they going across different causeways and going across different uh, 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 open areas or low fences. And somebody said, "Well, go get that wall built." Mm-hmm. Okay, 2,000 miles basically, right? You ain't gonna stop 2,000 miles, or you ain't gonna secure 2,000 miles of across 4 different states, right? On every single piece of land. How many of those lands are private, right? And supremacist knows that. Let me show you something. Let me show you something.
Okay, you've asked some questions. Okay. I totally agree with you. But as we fight the fight for the Dreamers, which is our... Do you want to listen or do you just want to shout? Yeah, I got it. As we fight the fight, you don't... It's clear you don't want any answer.
Do you think multi-millions of American citizens, I'm not talking about, don't give me that first generation, second generation, somebody gets to arrive to America and whatever that process or the process, should I say, and become citizens through whatever would go through that process, right, to become legal, and then go through go through whatever time frame, and then apply to become citizenship. I'm not going through that. This is not even the conversation for that, because that's another whole topic, right? Because again, well, actually, it's pseudo not and pseudo is, because how many of those same personnel that are multi-million right now in this topic of discussion of illegal immigration topics, how many of the same numbers of border breaking illegal immigration personnel come across that border as fast as possible, right? And how many the person who knew who they are sitting there popping out 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, 5 kids, 6 kids, etc. And how many, I don't know, speaking on English. But at the same time, they know how to go to hospital and clinic and get interpreters and all of a sudden get free pregnancy care. So, however, depending on what part of the United States that is, excuse me, southern parts of the United States and other parts who they have been told where to go and what to do and how to say and how to do those things, right? Tens of thousands, right, of dollars for for pregnancy care, pregnancy birthing, should I say, from a hospital clinic, free of charge. And that child is born now, obviously, unless some things are happening. But let's that child say that child's born to that border breaking illegal immigration personnel. They bam, that baby's anchored. Oh, they don't like hearing the word anchored because they know it's reality, right? Because again, when you start saying reality, they don't like that. It makes them feel uncomfortable. Oh, wait a minute, there's numbers of American citizens, etc., that's saying, wait a minute, do things the right way. But that's not what they want to do, right? They want to be sneaky about it and then laugh like this. See, again, for myself, and I'm sure some few amount of personnel within the country, you're not listening to these disgusting demonic tactics that people are trying. See, like for me, I'm like this. When I sit there and hear demonicism trying to go upon trying to go within my mindset, me knowing my little pieces of information and knowledge, right? And then somebody tries to play this little disgusting little mental switchery tactic a little bit. This is what I be doing. Because I'm not listening to that nonsense. Again, what do you say? What do you do when they be sitting there trying to talk to you? Something like that. Well, don't you think? Well, but they're trying to come over to America because of corruption and violence. I'm just like this. Because I'm not listening to that nonsense. Every day, you got people struggling in America. Every day, you got people going through poverty. Every day, and especially, unfortunately, what's going on even more within this country, the racial hatred of things still going on. That's still not being resolved by reparations, which is a different topic. Because again, when you start talking about that, you got people saying, "Oh, those American blacks always complaining." You say, "Which one are you talking about?" So you don't have no problem with other people that's getting reparations. You have no problems with still what we call Native Americans still getting reparations. And so you have personnel within, and I'm going to all that. So you got people that sit there and look at American blacks with disgust and say, "Oh man, they need to get over the past," but they won't talk to the not well anyway. They won't talk to what we call Native Americans. Tell them to get over the past. You see where I'm coming from? The thing what they have the anti-Asian bill that went through real fast, right, through Congress, right? But you don't hear people complain about that, even though the most number one personnel in the country that has the most race issues against them is black, right? But again, that's a different topic, right? But you got people that want to play minimizing games. And so again, going back to illegal immigration personnel demonism game, you got personnel who know where they are that want they want a few things. They want the overall demographical destruction, overall demographic destruction of the overall masses of within the country's demographics. The system wants a lot of the border breaking illegal immigration personnel to be on their political voting blocks, right? Because they have an agendas, right? Because they know 800,000% of border breaking illegal immigration personnel are going to do what they are told because they want even more freebies, right? even though I don't want to go there. So I would just say people know who they are when they come to this country, and they send back quite a large amount of resources back to that person's original country that say came from when they broke border immigration laws. So they send it back to people's families or friends, etc., getting things situated. And how many of them soak up the resources and free things within America and run right back across whatever parts of the border or whatever parts of the Atlantic Ocean or whatever they're going toward. You get the point, right? After they soaked up enough resources, then you got still ones that have been here for whatever years and years and years and years and years and still speak no English. Don't want to speak no English. But at the same time, that person's child or children sitting there getting free taxpayer funded ESL classes, right? You say it has nothing to do with the kids. I'm calling you a darn liar, or the one that's trying to play game. It has to do with kids as well, because the border breaking illegal immigration parents that are ones that brought those kids or kids across that border were using them as pawns, right? You see, you're making my point. Wrong answer. So when that child grows up to the appropriate age, what's stopping them again for putting in the correct paperwork again? DACA, by the way, which is still going on, right? But people still using DACA was almost what, 10 years ago, right? DACA program, right? Oh, we can't, you know, the parents or guardians who brought those kids or innocent kids over to this country, oh, they should be held accountable for that. And then, here it is 10 years later. Yeah, how do you explain now? When DACA program, I'll put it like this. Unless the age bracket has changed, you're talking about up to, say, 30 something years old, 31 years old. So from 18 to 30, the personnel that's within that range now, then how do you explain that again? A grown freaking person that has not put in the proper documentation because that person's border breaking illegal immigration parent is still border breaking illegal immigration parent and laughing and getting free resources. The ones who know I'm talking about too, getting free WIC, right? Getting free WIC. Because what? You don't have to be a citizen to get WIC? That child, I don't want to go somewhere totally different. So the thing about it is that now that person is grown. But at the same time, this ain't fences. Because again, that's the beautiness of supremacy. This can go in so many different areas related to illegal immigration situation. What about the illegal immigration topics? Now, I don't want to go on all of this other topic, but I'm just saying this is kind of an additional one, not talking about that today. So I would just say, what about the ones that overstay their visas? That goes into illegal immigration too, right? So that say that person, that parent or parents, oh, it came over illegal. It came over illegal, right? Well, say that child comes over. Well, excuse me, that's a different topic in itself, another type of game in itself. So that person is sponsored for whatever situation, comes over here and works. What's wrong with that? So at the same time, I'm gonna get to that point. So then that person sits there and does bring over that person's child or children, right? The child or children, youth, or say they're grown. Then that person want to bring over their son or daughter. I'm just giving an example. And then that's try to sponsor the sister-in-law, try to sponsor the sister-in-law, right? Oh, then they try to sit there and I'm sorry about that. Then they sit there and try to sponsor a then they try to sponsor sorry about that. So then they sponsor that person's sister-in-law or brother-in-law or uncle or aunt, right? See, that's another whole game in itself, right? It's a whole game in itself. And so my thing about it is the child. This usually I was going back to the child scenario. What about the child who then turns into the appropriate age of adult and they were using the visa of that person's parent or parents, depending on who over here. And so then get to a certain age. Oh, well, I can't use that visa anymore. I'm getting to the point where it's getting close where I can't attach myself continuously like I'm a child to my parent's visa. So now they are also, which I just showed you a video earlier. So no telling with the combination of ones that were youth, were about that person's parents are using them, right, for the benefit of the parents, of how many of them, where I showed the early video before I show it again, were over legally over here because they were sponsored relating to the parents bringing them over, the parents bring them over, right? Either at the same time that they were sponsored by whatever job or business, or whatever it is, where they were able to bring that child or children over, or at the same time, if they were not able to bring that person, child or children, but as they sit there and settle down after they got that job or business opportunity, they then were able to bring that person's child or children over here when they were youth, right? On whatever visa. But now they get to a certain age bracket, now they want to complain because they had basically a free ride, right? They had a free ride for a while. So now they turn to appropriate grown man, grown woman age bracket, and they really can't use that visa as it was before when they was younger. Now they want the system, or they want people in the country. I ain't talking about first, second generation. I'm talking about people who's been here for many generations within America. Now they want those personnel to feel sympathy, right? And then what happens? Then, oh my goodness, and then all of a sudden they get another type of legal status, or because they don't want to go to the back of the line, right? They want to skip the line to just keep staying at the same level they were when that person's parents were able to get that visa for them to either come over to the country, right? Or they were able to bring that child or children over here on that visa when they was youth. Now they want to skip the line. They don't go back the line and put the appropriate paperwork in. They don't want to do that. So it's a whole different over topic in itself, but it still can also be part of border breaking, illegal immigration, because again, how many of them have overstayed their visas if they have went past that age bracket, right? But let's play that again. Do you see the childishness of this behavior? And you see the sign? You see the sign? Hold on. And she said something about dreamers. I don't hear about no dreamers. Fight for all. Right? You see that? Fight for all 11 million. You see that nonsense? There's no such thing as 11 million undocumented personnel. It's no such thing as that.
It's clear. It's clear you don't want any answer.
You see that? Right? Now, now, do you think again, multi-millions of personnel, going back to some foundation part, do you think 11 million over whatever amount of years of game playing can go over to the southern borders and set up shop, pop out child to child to child to child to child, get free pregnancy care, free neonatal care, some type of food assistance left and right, some type of free Medicaid equivalent, which we wouldn't have anyway for that. And from 0 to 18 years old, and maybe a few years younger, or 4 years older. So from 0 to 18 years old, some type of free medical and dental, right up to about 18, and go a little bit longer. I guess it depends on the situation. But again, that depends on the scenario. But this is utilizing 0 to 18, free. But then the American citizen, right? I'm talking about for generations, American citizenship, right? Can go to another country, don't have the appropriate documentation, overstay a visa, don't get the proper documentation, don't pay the proper fee. Do you think that's going to happen? Do you think American citizen or citizens are going to go sit there and protest, right, in front of their political personnel across the borders in different other cities or states, or across the Atlantic Ocean, or etc.? Do you think personnel, American citizens, are going to be able to protest at other personnel legislature buildings or meetups and protests that 11 million, 11 million basic citizens of America just need to sit there and have a path to citizenship. Do you think that's going to be allowable? Do you think that's going to be allowable? Because this is what they. Oh, man. Again, when I hear idiotic stuff like that, when they try to play games like that, again, let me show you let me show you what I would do again when I hear that nonsense, right? For me on that. Because I'm not going to sit there and play this little tacky game they love playing. I'm going to show you something too a little bit. Remember, the key thing we're talking about is 11 million, right? It's supposed to be undocumented, okay, in America. Let me show you something. Now, this happens every day in America. Every day this happens. Every day this happens. Every day this happens. But border breaking, illegal immigration personnel, and entities who want border breaking, illegal open borders, however, other businesses, etc., even political personnel who know they are, that are ones that act like cowards, is what I'm talking about, who can't fall over chairs fast enough of trying to help out border breaking, illegal immigration personnel. But remember what I just showed you. Every day, this happens every day. Do you think that political personnel can sit there, have a family member, and go break immigration laws? Of course not. Again, do you think multi-millions of American citizens can go to that southern border, right? And their enforcement personnel continues to catch American citizens that are breaking immigration laws going across that border, or say going to another country or countries across the Atlantic Ocean, or going to places across the Pacific Ocean? Well, let's not do that. Let's just stick to this particular part. Do you think that 11? Do you think this can happen every day? Let's show this again because I can't show this enough of the time. Can't show this enough of the times. Let me go back. Let me go back again. Let me go back and show that again because that's so important that must continue. Uh, what did I do with it? Give me 1 second. I don't know what I just did with that video again. Give me 1 second. Where did I? What did I do with that video? This is funny how. Here we go. Do you think 11 million, giggle, giggle, right? 11 million American citizens that are breaking southern border immigration laws, and you think their enforcement person are going to continue to keep doing this every day? And then those American citizens get some kind of free legal resources day in, day out, get fed, right? And that they're going to use some child or children as pawns. And across those southern borders and other places, they're going to set up holding facilities with the internet, with food, and then, but at the same time, they're throwing some wild card. And then you got a political personnel saying, "Oh, they're holding the kids in cages across the southern borders," which is another whole game in itself. Because watch this, right? Now, I don't want to go into in this show on that, but watch this. There are ones who remember that and the ones who do not remember on that. I'll just say this: the ones who remember, it wasn't but a few years ago because they do it every so often. Oh, they'll pop up a little bit, get the political personnel to get out there and do, some coward stuff and say, "Oh, they're holding people in cages," or some other different people as well. Oh, they're holding kids in cages, right? They do it every so often. And most people don't ask the question, what happened to those kids that was supposed to be in those cages? What's supposed to happen to them? Right? They got a little older, and however other personnel in this system say, okay, they can sponsor these other personnel can sponsor them. We're gonna break them off a nice amount of money to sponsor them, or that they're border breaking illegal immigration man or wife, excuse me, father or mother or aunt or uncle, whoever's already in the country already, the ones who are over here already, and they paid whoever the personnel to get that child to the border, right? Because they've been told what to do, what to say, and stuff like that. So then they already know just a matter of time that they'll sit there and can hold the child in that facility, right? And most likely they probably have some kind of paperwork on them or something like that. Do you really think that some children are going to go thousands of miles from the southern parts of, across that border, go through different countries, right, by themselves, and make it to El Norte without no money, without no paperwork, don't know anything? Do you see the craziness and lunacy that it sounds? That's like sitting there thinking about an American citizen and their child or children are pissed off at their parent or parents. I'm just giving an example, right? And say they stay somewhere in some Midwestern state or some Northeastern state or some Northwestern state or some parts of the Southern states. And they sit there and leave that person's parent or parents or stepmother, stepfather, grandparent, grandpa, whomever, because they pissed off at them and because they trying to have rules, well, the ones who try to have rules. And then the child children just decide to go out the door and go through the states, the cities with no money, go to the southern borders, say, hey, I'm at the border, and the enforcement people across the borders are going to sit there and take the child or children, undocumented, and they're going to sit there and take them to a facility, some nice facility, right? Get them food and shelter and water, and depending on what facility, playing games, and all of a sudden, then people are going to sponsor them across that southern border. Do you know how crazy that sounds, right? Do you know how crazy that sounds? Or say I'm going to all that. You see the game I'm talking about. How ridiculous that sound. But again, when somebody tries to play that foolish game, if I hear some foolish nonsense like that, well, what about again? They're just trying to you see, I don't have time or patience to listen to nonsense. Now let's get into some closingness on the show. Remember, I said 11 million, right? They said, oh, 11 million undocumented personnel, right? And of course, it's not. And I also wanted to use this show as a timepiece purpose. Again, this is 2022. I'm saying I'm doing this show. So again, when they break out and do the same thing again, whatever amount of years, they decide to break out the 11 million game again after 2022, and they'll break out again 11 million or slightly less or slightly more, right? Right? But watch this again. How can it be 11 million? Even slightly more. How can it be if this is happening every day right here across the borders or going across El Norte? So be it this in Texas, be it this in Arizona, be it this in Mexico, be it this California. This happening every day. So how can it be only around about 11 million or slightly less or slightly more? How can it be? But 11 million is the go-to figure, right? Now I'm going to show you something here for a second. Let's go with this. I want you to look at that. What does that say? What does that say on that? What does that say? The numbers. You see, it says 11 million, right? You see what it says 11 million. Hold on, let me get some off here. Let me get some. Let me finish. Let me get this picture off here for a second. Let me get this picture. Let me get this picture off. Hold on, give me one moment here. Give me one moment. Give me one moment. Okay, give me one moment. Give me one moment here. Okay, let's try this again. Because I really want you to see. Really want you to see this on this, right? Because that's the game that keep playing 11 million, right? Give me one moment. Let me try to find this again. Or let me find, not try. Let me find this again. Here we go. Okay, you see that you see that now. So hopefully you see that now, right? You see where it says the second sentence, comprehensive approach that finally deals with the 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States. Do you see that nonsense? Let me play it again. You say where it says again. You can read it. You can read that the whole, the four sentences. I'm just putting out there right now, this particular part, right? So I'm just looking at the second sentence of the mid part, second sentence, comprehensive approach that finally deals with the 11 million undocumented immigrants. You see where it says right between that picture and the text at the bottom part. You see right in the middle where it says activist rally for immigration reform in front of the White House on November 8th of 2012. That's 2012, right? But again, what do people do? This is the ones I'm talking about, the ones I'm saying that do that when the game is not solved. But let's do this again. Or let's do another one for a second. That was 2012, right? Now this is 2022, but we keep talking, they keep trying to give us what the 11 million, right? I just then showed you 2012. I said then showed you that particular part where it says 11 million then, right? In 2012. Watch this. And again, you can have another article that can do slightly more, slightly less, but I'm sitting there showing you it's still talking about 11 million in general. That was 2012. This is 2019. What does it say on there? Counting 11 million undocumented immigrants. Right? Now, I'm not going to go into the last part of that because I'm not playing the political switchery tactic on there. Because when I said that showed you the previous video, that was a previous administration. You see where I'm coming from? Now, this 2019 was a different administration. So it has nothing to do with political ideology on this scenario overall. There are personnel on whatever sides that know who they are, right? That want these things to happen, with a few exceptions. So let's show this again. This is 2000 what 19. What did it say again? Counting 11 million undocumented immigrants is easier than such and such things. Mm, 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 mm. Bam, home run. So it cannot be 11 million. That's nonsense, right? Because again, how can it be 11 million when again, this happens every day? Every day this happens. So how can it be 11 million? When I said that and showed you just a little bit ago, 2012, they was talking about 11 million in 2012. When I said that and showed you another one, 2019, it was saying it was 11 million then. Again, another articles may say slightly less, slightly more. Not the point, right? Because overall, the genericality, the go-to tactic is to say 11 million. That's the part I'm also getting at. They need to try to defeat that reality of what is being shown. Again, let's look at this again. 2012. What does it say at that on the article? The second sentence, comprehensive approach that finally deal. No, let's read in general. Such and such person outlined his vision for immigration reform in a speech on Tuesday. The such and such person described his plan as a comprehensive approach that finally deals with the 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States. That was 2012. Okay. What does it say? 2019. What does this say? 2019, right? Counting 11 million undocumented immigrants is easier than such and such personnel thing. Home run. This is logical analysis. I'm done. I don't play no more games with that situation. This is what again, how I do when I hear nonsense, when I relay this information. So, because this is what they want people to not pay attention to reality because again, you have some demonic entities who know they are, who want open, best as possible, open borders without no sovereignty of border security. But then if you ask the logical question, can American citizens, I'm not talking about sellout versions. I'm not talking about ones who are bought out. I'm talking about the American citizens who have been here for a long time through their families, been a long time. Can they go to the southern borders or any other place and break immigration laws and soak up free legal resources? Can that woman sit there unless some situations happen, that is not able to have that child or children? The point is not getting, I'm not going to do that. Can that person who is able to produce that child or children, American citizen, go across the border, have that child or children, and go to the hospital or clinic, and that person, that woman has in that country as an American citizen going to that country across the border, can they sit there and have free pregnancy care? Right? Baby is born free. Do you think that's going to happen? Do you think again? Oh, and then do you think that children is born to that woman and man, depending on the situation, do you think, bam, automatic citizenship over and over and over and all of a sudden now those different states within across that border now they have a gigantic influx of American citizens popping out child to child to child, and all of a sudden automatic citizenship over and over and over and over again. Do you think that's going to be allowed to do that? Of course, because then that starts diluting their numbers out. Do you see this game that they're not going to allow that to happen? But again, you got political figures who know where they are and border breaking illegal immigration entities and businesses who want nothing more, again, for the overall uh, complete dismantling of demographics overall in a favor of uh, uh, the political direction that they want various parts of the country to go, and they want even more numbers of males and some numbers of women to want them to bow down more and feel scared to voice their opinions, even though it's supposed to be what a democratic society, even though again you're supposed to have the right for the First Amendment right them to have the free speech, right? We're not talking about threatening, not talking about doing any kind of bad stuff, just saying you voicing your opinion, right? But this is the thing that certain people try to go across other different countries and try to sit there and point people's fingers in their faces saying, hey, you need democracy. But at the same time, you got people in America saying, wait a minute, this ain't a democracy. First of all, it's a republic. But they're saying, wait a minute, how many people sit there and talk about, wait a minute, which is a different topic in itself, right? What country do you think an American citizen, just say for instance, can go across the borders, the southern borders, into whatever country, city, etc., and not have an ID? Whoa. What country do you think American citizens can, especially go across that southern border or across the Pacific Ocean, not have an ID and go vote? Right? And then people who know who they are don't want to sit there and have an ID to make sure this person is valid to be able to vote in an election. Do you know how crazy that sounds? What other country is going to sit there and allow that? It's about American citizens, right? To get on the plane, right? To get on the boat, go across the southern borders, right? Not having ID. First of all, how you gonna get on the plane? First of all, without having ID. You see where I'm coming from? I'm just giving an example. Don't have no ID and get on that plane, go somewhere else and say, I don't need no ID. We're all humans. And then go to another country across that southern borders in different countries, different city states, and go try to vote in their elections and see how fast they'd be like, who are you again? You don't look like you belong here. What are you talking about? That's racist. Okay, that's fine. Where's your ID at? I don't need no ID. That's discrimination. And see how fast and see what happens after that. Trying to play games on that. But you got personnel, political personnel who know they are, demonic type of entities out there, organizations, you know who they are, that don't want no ID for people to sit there and produce. Again, this is what this is brilliance of these people, because this is what they do when they sit there and say such ignorant games, and numbers of people sit there and buy into this, right? Who know they are. This is what they do. Again, this is what they do. Let me see if I can find this again. Uh, Give me 1 second. Uh, this is what they do. They sit back and laugh because they know the ignorance how that sounds, right? They know the ignorance of how that sounds, right? They know the ignorance of how that sounds. They know the ignorance of how that sounds, right? Because just imagine this is American citizens doing this, right? Now just imagine American citizens were sitting there doing this, going across that southern border or going across another country. Do you think this is going to be allowed to happen? Do you think this would be allowed to happen every day somewhere on some part of the 2,000 basically miles of border? Excuse me. Well, yeah, do the southern border. Do you think this is going to be allowed in some kind of way, be it a physical border or boundary river border, something, causeway border in the southern states, going across to the going from the Texas, Louisiana, excuse me, I said Louisiana, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California. Do you think there are multi millions of American citizens, being for generations, that kind, right, could go to the southern borders and and give me 1 second again. Do you think multi millions are going to be able to do this? Go to the southern borders and do this as American citizens? Going to do this? Do you see how ignorant that sounds? Right? Because it makes no ignorant. Such an ignorant ass. Excuse me. That's such an ignorance of the way that people look upon people within parts of this country, right? And laugh to say we can sit there and play the most ignorant game with multi millions of their people and as American citizens, right? The ones been for generations. I'm talking about, and they'll believe anything overall. But again, this happens every day right here coming to El Norte, right? This is again across the border. Oh, excuse me, coming through southern borders across to El Norte. Be it this is Texas, parts of Texas, be it this is parts of New Mexico or Arizona and California. This happens every day. Do you think this is going to be allowed to keep happening every day going across the southern borders? Do you think it happen? Of course not. By American citizens? Nope. What if American citizen says, we just want to leave this country because there's so much turmoil and parts of across the southern borders, their economics are not doing good, and we're more educated and we can do more than they can do, and they'd be like, people across the southern border be like, man, y'all get out of here. People in other country be like, yeah, get out of this country. You didn't come over and insult us. How dare you? But this is what's happening across southern borders coming to the El Norte. People utilizing tactics and games to break immigration laws, but they want to keep talking about 11 million. Oh man, you see the game of this. See, this is one of the last things I want to show you. See, this is what they want uh, quite a number of American citizens to feel when they come across some reality. This is the way that they want them to act like. This is not a one. Well, this is the music I want to play, but listen to that sound of that. You see how that sounds? It's a powerful sound in it. It's a very powerful sound. I'm trying to find an image to go along with that. Give me 1 second. Just keep listening to that. And I just found the image. So this is what they want numbers of people to do, right? Pretend what's right in front is not really what's in front. They want to mesmerize millions of people within America to be lost and not voice their opinions of what's going on around. Border breaking illegal immigration personnel do not care anything about people within the country. They're only over to America to soak up free resources, to get free WIC, right? Free cereal, free cereal, free cheese. You know what I'm talking about? The ones who don't know, when they are able to get the free WIC and soak up that free food for that, and say they never pay no taxes at all, which is another game. They'll sit there and try to play, saying, well, basically they'll say undocumented personnel. They don't want to say illegal immigrant personnel. They paid all this money, and I'm calling them a liar because they're a lie. How can someone who just had a children, they went across that border, right? How is it again? They were paying taxes, right? When they came across that border, 7 months pregnant, 6 months pregnant. You see I'm coming from, but they paid taxes, right? So when I sit there and showed you this, right here, and you telling me these same personnel, right, that have similar to this, I'm just giving an example, not the person per se them, but the person that are similistic on that, they're sitting there paying taxes and everything when they use the I-10 documentation, I-10. Get out of here with that, right? You think personnel like this, that come over every day, every day coming across the border like this, that they're paying taxes, right? Right? This is a nonsense. This is a nonsense that they want people to keep trying to believe. But at the same time, again, this is what they want millions of American citizens to do. Be mesmerized by incorrect information that's being put out. Incorrect information. To still feel sorry for border breaking illegal immigration personnel that can care less about American citizens. So I hope this was a interesting show on that. I want to do a show like this for a little bit of time. So I appreciate the opportunity for you to listen to this particular show on illegal immigration, on the illegal immigration topic show. And, this show was about the 11 million illegal immigration personnel, white lie switchery. So I appreciate you for tuning in to this illegal immigration topic show. If you're interested in liking this video and subscribing for future videos, I would appreciate that. If you just want to sit back and just listen when you have opportunity, I appreciate that. So I thank you either way for tuning into this show on that. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.